console wars. They are an amalgamation of all the fanboys of their respective console having playground arguments. And that playground is the internet. We are in 2023. And in the generation of the PlayStation 5, and I forgot, bro. We're in 2020. Fuck! We are in 2024. And in the generation of the PlayStation 5 and... I actually don't know the new Xbox name. Wait. And the Xbox Series X. And at the moment, the PlayStation 5. But Sony in general is failing. But before we get to that, let's make things clear. In life, people have differing preferences. Be it red or blue, black or white, or Xbox and PlayStation, which are too freaking expensive, unless you choose Nintendo, in which case, you're equally fucked. We all have different reasons why we spend the money we earn for our desired gaming console of choice. And before I explain why PlayStation is failing, we are going back in time to evaluate if you were a W or a fucking loser. Most of us by this time didn't even have a gaming console, or weren't even born. I fit in the latter, by the way, but that's besides the point. 1994, as per Google tells me, the two biggest gaming choices to be the new hip kiddo on the block, a Sega Genesis or a Game Boy. These consoles were great in their own right, and this console war was very relevant back in the day. But Sega lost that battle. Big time. However, whilst great, the games on these consoles had one thing in common with each other. They were two-dimensional. And in America, we sadly had to wait a whole year until these Japanese people would share their gold with us. Can't blame them. In September 1995, we got it. The PlayStation was a benchmark in video games for the sole reason you were now able to play games in 3D. Nothing else on the market was even capable of reaching such heights until later on. It seriously was a very impressive piece of hardware for its time, powered by games we consider classics today. No other company outsider would be able to reach such an impressive start in the video game industry for years. But then,
Bill Gates, you never cease to amaze the rock.
The Xbox made its debut with specs that were way ahead of Nintendo and Sony. Considering Microsoft tried packing all their hefty PC hardware capable of playing these huge games into this console, it wasn't a surprise. It even borrowed their name from the PC game programming UI, DirectX, to become the Xbox. Besides that, the console had a good amount of games that were cross-platform to at least have a decent library that wouldn't feel too alienated or scarce from the PlayStation 2. And I'm not even going to act all mysterious. Everyone knows what made Xbox a hit. And the final thing the Xbox did to segment their place into this industry, introducing online gameplay.
The Xbox.
Remember how I said it used PC hardware? That includes an Ethernet port for online access.
That's fascinating.
And although the Xbox was able to outsell one of their biggest competitors, the GameCube, it still couldn't even touch the amount of success Sony was able to gain from their successor, released the year before. The PlayStation 2 destroyed everyone on the market without a question. It was able to play DVDs, CDs, and high-end video games that looked and were such a huge leap into the future of video games for a lot of people. I don't think this one needs explanation. So who won? Depends on who you ask. If we're talking sales, then the PS2 ruled the market. Everyone is dead. But ask someone who's peak in video game independent on one game, then we're talking about Halo and Xbox fanboys. No, but seriously, the Xbox was a huge thing. Microsoft, in the span of a couple of years, really cemented themselves in the gaming industry as one of the biggest competitors to deal with. And they would still be a force to be reckoned with in the future.
This is your new Xbox 360.
PS3 to Xbox 360. Now we're talking. The peak of console war. I myself had a PlayStation 3, but always could see how the Xbox's performance was miles further than the PS3. I couldn't even play Spider-Man 3 without lagging a ton, and yes, that game was badly optimized but ran smooth on Xbox. But neither did Call of Duty always run the smoothest when playing online. Sony just had loads of issues regarding internet connectivity. So honestly, all y'all can put away your guns, because the PS3 is still a good freaking console. the Xbox 360 still wins. Unless you had onion ring issues, which really almost killed Xbox's chance to win this one.
What? What? What the fuck?
The Sony and Xbox debate was heating up. With the release of the PS4 and the Xbox One, people were already fighting online and in classrooms who was going to prevail. And now we know, Xbox lost. Big time. Sony led into a new generation with the idea of making their brand single-player, story-focused video games, and the exclusives just kept piling up. Whilst Xbox, although marketed with so many games and the strongest console, none of them actually stuck around. If one of your best exclusives is Microsoft Flight Simulator at number 13, you missed out big time, boy. If you are that much of a Microsoft fan, you're better off just getting a PC since most of their okay titles are on PC anyways. But it also doesn't matter if your competitor gets all your exclusives on their console. Plus, it's their biggest games on PC. These guys just fucked up so bad, it's insane. Either you got a PS4 or a PC. Or both. The current generation consoles release. The hype and excitement people had for these consoles were insane. What would be different? How can they improve? PC is one of the biggest and honestly best ways to play video games. But with shortages of PC components, how will the consoles be able to run to speed? Then, they announced it. The ice cream sandwich and the mini fridge. The next step in consoles. And the audience felt that the designs looked very bad, comparing it to a Wi-Fi router and a trash can. Both of the designs grew on me after 3 years. But what grew on the consoles themselves after 3 years? Almost nothing! 3 years after the PS4 got announced, the console had some great exclusives like Infamous, Ratchet & Clank, Uncharted, Bloodborne, with so many more to come. And at the moment of this recording, all we have of notability is Spider-Man, Ratchet & Clank, Spider-Man, Demon's Souls, Spider-Man. You get my point! The PS5 definitely benefits from being able to play almost everything on the PS4 catalog, as well as next-gen games. But is it really worth it by then? There aren't even that many good next-gen video games to play that would warrant you to get a PS5 or Xbox. PlayStation is failing at keeping us entertained, and tries to play new things and falling into greed. And before anyone mentions it, yes, I know it's hard to make new games on newly released hardware, but it's been 3 years. Not only that, but the PS5 has been announced to be ending its life cycle. The PS6 is almost here, and we barely had video games. What the fuck was the point? Unless we get a huge game that makes the time spent understandable, making it a slow burner. But it's just like, if most of your games are new to your console, but are also playable on the PS4, then why bother with a new console? The PS4 would have been able to go on for at least 2 more years if it is capable of running these games. Instead, Sony's preying on their biggest cash cow again as the PS5 selling point.
Hello, my dear.
And granted, it is working since I did get a PlayStation just for this game. But what else is there to gain? Which brings me to point number 2. The main reason I feel PlayStation is failing its audience. The PlayStation Plus increase. Xbox, for once I didn't forget about you. Game Pass is Xbox's version of PlayStation Plus with an annual fee of $17 a month for access to a catalog of games to play that gets updated each month. $17 for an extensive catalog of games like PS Plus spanning multiple generations for only $17. All the while covering the fact that the Xbox Series X has backwards compatibility. Not every game is backwards compatible, but at least there's an attempt. Sony makes you pay to do so even if you have the disc. Introducing PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium for access to new titles on the PS5 and some PS3 and PS2 titles as well for a higher fee. The pricing for these were actually pretty good. It felt realistic. And I know inflation is a big thing right now, but this is Sony. They have more than enough funds to not let the customer suffer from it. I don't see Nintendo increasing their price, and their price is $20 a year! So compared to Nintendo and Xbox, this pricing wasn't actually that great. But they still increased it. I understand maybe Extra and Premium getting a little more expensive, but at this rate you might as well quit gaming! Get yourself a console for $500, preceded by not a $60 but $70 video game, and then buy yourself PS Plus even though you had free online services 2 generations ago. which will increase in price. Sony knows they will take a loss in profits due to their next handheld console, the PlayStation Portal. And this thing looks like a Switch and would have absolutely banged if it was actually wireless. But no, it connects to your PS5 and thus only can be used for home play. What the fuck? Why even make this for such a niche market for people who share a TV?
They say the hammer can fix anything, right? And my TV is broken? Yeah.
At price at $220, why not just get another TV? A smaller one. You can put it in the corner. What the heck? Sony and the PlayStation is failing to deliver in games, services, and consumer satisfaction. I have a PS5, and although I do enjoy it, I do not feel like it was a financially well-made purchase if the same amount of enjoyment I could have had from the PS4. I do understand that the appeal is to play next-gen games with the hardware provided, but as a Sony IP, there were no exclusive experiences. But it barely matters, since PlayStation is gaining so many Microsoft and Xbox exclusives. I should change the title to Xbox is failing.
Did you eat? I'ma ask you again. Did you eat a tree for her?
In conclusion, if Sony gets their act together and gives us other games that feel rewarding for a next-gen console, and don't milk me dry for money regarding online services, we can get to an agreement. So, decrease the price points for both games and PlayStation Plus, give us viable exclusives, and stop milking Spider-Man. Even though it works.